Hello and welcome to the discussion of the CIMA February 2019 operational case study pre-scene. My name is Hashan Madushanka and I'm the founder and lead tutor at LCI Academy. At LCI Academy we offer study packages for CIMA operational and management case study. So talking a little bit about myself, I have been coaching students globally for all the operational case study sessions so far since 2015, and I have been a CIMA tutor for the last 7 years, and I have produced very high pass rates globally and also a number of national prize winners from countries such as Sri Lanka, India, Botswana and so on. Right, so before I start discussing the details of this pre-scene, I would like to request you a couple of things. Now, unlike other study material providers, I don't annotate the pre-scene with my notes. I only highlight the pre-scene, whatever important points, but I will be mentioning quite a few points that are important. And instead of me annotating the pre-scene, I want you to make note of it. So I want you to have three things with you: a hard copy of the pre-scene, number one, that is the hard copy of the pre-scene, number two, a notepad, and number three, a pen. So you can pause this video and arrange those three items. Right, so I believe you have the three items I requested for. Now, in the pre-scene, whatever I underline, I suggest you also to do the same. And any extra notes and any extra points that I mention, you can make note of them in the pre-scene itself, or if you don't have enough space to write down, you can use a notepad. Now, why I am telling you to do this is because when you're writing your own notes, you will absorb it much better rather than you simply looking at the notes that I am making. When you're doing it yourself, you have to think, right? You have to think what is important and you have to write it down in your own words. So that way you will understand the pre-scene much better. Right, so now let's proceed with discussing the first page of the pre-scene. So as you see, we have a company named Trigg Adventure, and we see a small playhouse. So probably something to do with construction of children playhouses probably. Now if you look at the contents, you have the introduction, you have information about your role, which is going to be the finance officer, couple of extracts from business, some business articles and also from the website, information on the organization, director's background, other information, and the numbers, which include financial statements and budget information, example of commercial job costing, email from Tony Trigg to other directors, there's a newsletter, there's an article on government initiatives, and as usual, information on the tax regime in Poland. So Poland seems to be the country that we are operating in. So moving through to the first page. Trigg Adventure is a small family-owned limited company that designs, manufactures and installs children's outdoor play equipment in the country of Poland. Okay, quite a few points to discuss here. Now it's a small family-owned limited company. Now when you say small, we are not so sure for now whether it's in relation to the market size in the country or is it the market size globally. And also there can be different segments within this market, right? Different sectors. Now it's a family owned limited company. Now usually there are certain areas in your three syllabus P1, E1 and F1 which are relevant to listed companies. So for example, if you look at corporate governance and certain accounting standards like IFRS 8, and also most of the time consolidated financial statements. So these are applicable mainly for listed companies. Right now, consolidated financial statements, of course, there are some exceptions. However, I would like to kindly request you to not leave out any of these. With the given scenario, yes, true that we are a limited company, but you'll never know, they might become a listed company in your exam, right? So when you start your exam, maybe the first task tells you, we have decided to list our company. Please give me an explanation on corporate governance. Please give an explanation of IFRS 8. Right? So if you have a question like that, you will be in trouble. So bottom line, don't leave anything out from your 3 subjects. Right? You cannot filter out the areas relevant for your exam simply by looking at the pre-seed. Okay, that's a rule of thumb in this exam. You need to revise all the areas in the 3 subjects. Leave nothing behind. Right. So small family-owned limited company, which means we'll have better control, and it's controlled by family members who will have a stronger relationship and understanding with each other probably. However, one drawback might be that they can be too biased, and they can have a limited scope of thinking, right, compared to having some fresh thoughts from a different party. So we are into designing, manufacturing and installing children's outdoor play equipment. Okay, now most of the previous sessions, the business has been a manufacturer, and being a manufacturer, it makes it much easier to apply many concepts and models from P1, E1 and F1. So for example, if you look at P1, we have a very important area called standard costing and variance analysis. Now we are not sure for now whether the play equipment that we design, whether they are standard items or whether they are customized items, or it can even be a mix of the two. So if it's a standard item, then standard costing would definitely be applicable, and the products will have a standard cost card. If it's customized products, then the application of job costing becomes relevant. So you need to calculate the total cost per order, and there are direct costs as well as overheads. The overheads should be absorbed based on a particular OAR. And there are so many other areas. Now if you look at F1, you have the application of IAS 16, property, plant and equipment, since a manufacturer would need a range of non-current assets for production. And if you look at Porter's value chain analysis, that would be applicable for a manufacturer. So in our case, inbound logistics involves the purchasing of material, operations involves the manufacturing, outbound logistics involves the installation, and so on. And we should also look at the costing method that we are currently using and whether it is the best method that is suitable for the company. Right? Costing is an area that is frequently tested for operational case study. So you have to have an idea about the different costing methods that are in the syllabus, including marginal costing, absorption costing, activity-based costing, and even throughput accounting would be relevant. Apart from that, you should also think about the break-even point, the cost volume profit analysis. Right? So we need to have an idea of what are the variable costs and what are the fixed costs in our business. We should also split the direct cost and indirect cost of manufacturing, because it's very important to have a proper idea about these cost classifications in order to control the cost and make future decisions. So children's outdoor play equipment, that is the product that we are involved with. Now the first thing that came into my mind when thinking about the product, since it's used by children, Number one, it has to be safe. Safety levels have to be ensured, right? Because children don't have a high knowledge about how to uh, move around with these, and their knowledge is not enhanced. So you need to be very thorough with the strength of the structure, right? So safety is of extreme importance. Number two, durability, right? You wouldn't want the play equipment to break down after a couple of weeks or a couple of months. You would want it to last for a long time, right? A number of years for that matter. And number three, I would say attractiveness. Children, children can be quite emotional, unlike adults who tend to think more rationally, right? Children, they sometimes just like what they see, right? At the first glance, they might get attracted by certain toys. So the attractiveness is also very important. So including photographs of say superheroes and so on, and attractive color schemes. So once again, number one, safety, number two, durability, and number three, attractiveness. So these are three important points according to my opinion that Trigg Adventure needs to inculcate into their products. Now this is based in the country named Poland. Poland is in Central Europe with a population of 40 million. The currency is the F dollar. Okay, now another important point that I remind students in every session, many students tend to do industrial research on whatever industry that is thrown out in the pre-scene. So in this case, it's children's outdoor play equipment. Now, conducting industrial analysis is definitely useful, not to a great extent, but to a certain extent. So speaking of industry analysis, well, we at LCI Academy, we have compiled an industrial analysis that is useful for you. You can check it out in our website, www.lciacademy.com. It also comes along with our study packages. So back to the main point. I need to remind you that this may not be a real world country, and this may not be a real world company. More often than not, students are under the perception that the examiner or the person who sets this pre-scene looks at a real world company and a real world country, and they change the name of the company and the country. But that is not entirely true, right? It may be an entirely imaginary country. So please don't waste time trying to figure out what country this is, trying to find out European country with 40 million people and what are the outdoor play equipment companies in that particular country. Right now, that would be, of course, a waste of time. Instead, what you should try to do is look at the general industry, look at a few companies, right? You try to understand how they operate, try to understand the risks that they face and the problems that they face, right? So that is important, right? That would be very useful. However, all of that can be provided, all of that is provided in our industry analysis document that we release. So the currency is the F dollar, again a fictional currency. Do not think of this as the US dollar or the Australian dollar. No, this is an entirely fictional currency. So speaking about currency, you can think of IAS 21, foreign currency transactions. So if we are importing any material from another country, or if you are exporting to another country, then this foreign exchange accounting standard would be applicable. So you have to know how to account for a transaction on the transaction date, on the year end, and the settlement date. So in simple terms, any gains or losses or any foreign exchange differences will be accounted in the SOPL. You need to translate any monetary transactions at the year end using the closing exchange rate. So as I am discussing along the pre-scene, I will try my best to cover all the possible areas that you can be tested on, right? Because at this level, a high level of industrial knowledge is not very important, because this exam is 64% technical. So instead, you need to be aware of the different areas of the syllabus and how each of these areas can be tested based on the information given in the pre-seed, right? So that's what I am trying to do as much as possible from this set of analysis videos. Okay, so moving on, Trigg Adventure was started. Okay, sorry, I need to stop right there. I missed out on one point. Now, the population will also play a role in our industry, because higher the population, more the business, since most children would like to have some outdoor play equipment either in their house, or maybe they would like to visit a park, or whenever their parents take them out to a, say, restaurant or clothing outlet, if they have a play area, children would like to play with these equipment. So the population also plays a role in our industry. Generally, higher the population, you can expect the sales, the market size also to increase. Right, so moving on to the next paragraph. Trigg Adventure started 25 years ago by Stanley Trigg. Okay, so the business was named after its founder. So it started 25 years ago, which is quite a long time, right? So they are well experienced in this industry, and throughout the last 25 years, they would have experienced many changes within the industry. Now, from our common knowledge or general knowledge, we know that the demand for outdoor play equipment might be comparatively lower now compared to a good 10 to 20 years back, because kids nowadays, they are more fond of technological accessories and so on. So they might prefer to play video games or use their smartphones to play games rather than actually playing out. So within the last 25 years, they would have gathered a lot of knowledge and experience, but more importantly, they have to be able to use this experience into the future. Stanley has recently retired from the business, giving his 75% stake in the business to his son, Tony Trigg, who is now managing director. Okay, so we have had a recent change in the position of the managing director, which is the top position of the company. Now, how well has Tony Trigg adjusted to this company as the managing director? Now, he might have worked in Trigg Adventure before, but holding the position of managing director is a completely different game altogether. So, is he preferred by the employees compared to Stanley, or at the very least, are they satisfied with having Tony on the board or as the managing director? And what would be Tony's leadership style? How well does he treat the employees? What sort of plans does he have for the future? Is he planning to incorporate more technology into the operations? What is his marketing? What is his attitude to marketing, the perception to marketing? Right. So all of these will play a critical role, since it was a recent change. So Tony, the managing director, owns 75% of the stake. Now, the main director, the managing director being the chief shareholder, would be an advantage, because whatever he does would benefit the company in terms of the share value. Now, although we are not listed, we understand that even in a private limited company, the value of shares will appreciate when the business keeps developing. Whereas in a public limited company, if the CEO or the managing director does not have shares, then there would be some sort of a sub-optimization, right? Lack of goal congruence, because managing director may be more interested in his or her bonus as opposed to shareholder wealth. But in this case, it's not present. Stanley's brother-in-law, Ben Darcy, who is the production director, has a 25% stake in the business. Okay, so both of them are family members. The latest financial statements show revenue of 20 million F dollars. Once again, doesn't mean it's US dollars. Shows a revenue of 20 million F dollars, a small decrease on the previous year. Okay, now a decrease in revenue compared to the previous year is not a very good sign. Now, there have been instances where the business records a lower profit compared to last year, but maybe the revenue has been stable or has increased. But revenue dropping is not a very good sign. It may be due to two possible reasons. Either the market size is reducing or the market share is reducing. So in order to understand this, we need to see by how much the market size increased. Right? The market size of the fallen outdoor play equipment industry, whether it increased or reduced. So if it has increased, then it would not be good on us because it shows that our market share has reduced. Now we need to also look at what has happened to our profit, and we need to clearly understand why this fall in revenue would have occurred and take immediate steps to correct it. Trigg Adventure operates in two distinct markets. First would be the domestic market. So this is for people's homes. A range of children's wooden outdoor play equipment sold directly to the end consumer through the company's own website or through established outdoor play specialist stores, large toy shops and department stores. Okay, so we see the sales channels that they are using for domestic play equipment. So they sell through third parties, which include outdoor play specialist stores, large toy shops and department stores. Now whenever you are selling through these channels, we need to remember that there is competition, because these outlets may not be only selling our products, right? So if our sales from these channels have increased comparatively, it may be a sign that we are doing better than competitors. However, it may also be possible since due to any price discounts given by us. Now we should definitely try to increase our sales from the website because it involves no margin to any third party, right? The entire margin will be, profit margin will be belonging to the company. Now when having a website, there are many aspects you need to look into. First of all, the website has to look attractive. It has to be user friendly, right? It has to be updated regularly with the different products and new price points, new offers, new discounts that are given. And the payment process should be again user friendly. And the coordination between the website process and the delivery and installation process also should be monitored. All products in the range are supplied to the customer as flat pack or self-assembly and are designed for private gardens. Okay, so seems like we are not offering installation services for these products, and they mainly seem to be standard products, right? That is why we are able to sell these through third parties. Okay, so these are standard products, which means the application of standard costing will be relevant. There would be a standard cost card for each different product. This is a market in maturity, right? So a market in maturity, a feature of a market in maturity is that the market growth is much lower, right? Now it doesn't mean that the market is going down, but having a market growth of like, let's say 1% or 2% would mean that the market is in maturity. Okay, and it may even go into a decline pretty soon, right? So if the market is in maturity and we have a high market share, we could put the domestic products into the category of a cash cow under the Boston Consultancy Group matrix. So a cash cow is a product that has high market share but low market growth. On the other hand, if our market share is also low, then it would be a dog, right? So we know that products that fall into the category of a dog must be discontinued because they are not worthwhile, right? However, if the margins are positive and if still it is contributing, then maybe we could consider running it for some time. So we need to find information maybe later on in the pre-scene on the market share that we hold in the domestic market, right? So if our market share is keeping on reducing over time, then maybe it's time to shift the focus away from this, or maybe we could do something to improve the market share, right? Then the next market segment would be the commercial market. So first one was domestic and the second one is commercial market. A more robust version of the domestic range that is tailored to suit the individual requirements of commercial customers, such as adventure playgrounds, cafe gardens, schools and local government playgrounds. So this seemed to be a customized product, right? So job costing may be relevant here because every order is different. Now this would also be a feature that could make a costing system like ABC relevant, right? So when some products are customized and when some products are standard, it would be one feature that make ABC relevant because the activity consumption can be varying and has to be properly calculated for costing and pricing decisions, right? So it's too early to judge whether ABC is the method to be used. Maybe we are unable to tell it at all after even reading through the entire pre-scene. But what we can do is we can gather certain points like this, and if a question on ABC is given at the exam, these are points that we can use in our answer, right? So please make note of that. And another point would be that we are selling to commercial customers, so it's more of a B2B type of transaction. Now your E1 syllabus covers the difference between B2C sales and B2B sales, so you need to be thorough with the differences between these two, right? So a stronger relationship, better credit terms and so on. So some of our commercial customers include adventure playgrounds, cafe gardens, schools and local government playgrounds. Now almost every school will have a play area for the kids, right? And we need to tap into and have a close relationship to gain such businesses. Local government playgrounds are generally managed by local authorities. Commercial customer sales arise through personal selling, right? So compared to the domestic sales, the marketing strategy for commercial sales are different. So commercial sales would include us having to send individuals to discuss this matter, but that sort of an effort cannot be put for domestic markets, because in the commercial sector you can assume that an average order size is much higher compared to a domestic order. So it makes perfect sense to put more effort into such a transaction. The commercial market is growing rapidly. Okay, so compared to the domestic market, which is in maturity, we see that the commercial market is growing rapidly, although there is significant competition in this market. That perfectly makes sense because whenever a market is growing, more and more companies try to come into this market. So obviously you can expect high competition. So the early mover advantage would be quite handy, right? So let's find out where we stand. Commercial customers have installation, That includes the assembly, fixing and on-site finishing of the product included as part of the package price. Right, so this is not included for domestic. So we see that the activities that are relevant for a domestic sale is much different compared to a commercial sale. Right, again a variety of activities. Installation was until recently outsourced to subcontractors, but it is now carried out by Trigg Adventure's own installation team. Now the main reason, some of the main reasons they would have outsourced is that the cost is lower, and also the administrative burden will be lower when a different team is carrying it out. So we don't have to monitor and supervise them. But it seems like they might not have done a good job, or it may even be that the costs of outsourcing would have increased, and this would have been a reason for us to have our own installation team. Now when you look at it, the installation part is a core activity in the product, so it would make perfect sense for us to do this internally so that we have better control. Commercial customers often require groundwork, which is the preparation of the area below the climbing frame that makes it safe for children. Right, so you need to lay the proper groundwork for the structure to be stable. Trigg Adventure does not currently undertake this work, but if requested, recommended groundwork suppliers. Right, so we are not undertaking this work, but we are recommending the suppliers that we know. Now this is something possibly that we can enter into in the future. Right, so we need to do a proper calculation and see what are the extra costs of doing groundwork and what are the benefits that we gain from it. Okay, so this you need to compare with getting it done externally. Now sometimes financially an option might look feasible, but then again the administrative burden and the time spent might be too high. So it's a possibility, right? I wouldn't say that they will definitely get into this, but it is a possibility, and if needed your help would be requested for certain calculations and even certain non-financial activities. The demand for domestic products increases over the summer months, which is quite understandable, with a slump in demand in Jan, Feb and March. So January, February and March, it's late winter and early spring. So obviously during this time the demand would go down, right? But in summer months it would be very high. So we need to know how exactly are they doing the capacity planning. Are they producing to demand, which is something we call chase demand, or are they producing constantly right throughout, which is something we call the level capacity planning. Demand for commercial products follow a similar pattern, but this pattern is much less pronounced. So what you mean by pronounced is it's not exactly like the pattern for domestic products, but pretty much similar. Now this is also important for us in forecasting our sales. So a model that we study in T1 is the time series analysis, and according to time series analysis there are 4 factors that affect sales. That would be trend, seasonal, cyclical and random. Now when looking at the trend for domestic sales, it seems like slightly upward trend but not that high, whereas commercial sales seem to be growing at a steady rate. Now we need to look at our specific trend, the specific trend for our business also. In terms of seasonal factors, we see that summer it's a positive season where the seasonal variation is a positive one, or definitely above 100%, and during Jan, Feb and March it seemed to be a negative one. profitability has been slowly declining over the past 3 years. That is definitely not a good sign. And the directors of Trigg Adventure are keen to reverse this trend. Tony Trigg has different ideas to his father and plans to invest in the design of new climbing frame ranges for both the domestic and commercial market. Okay, now profitability can be declining due to many factors. One factor would be the market size reducing, causing a reduction in sales. We know for a fact that the domestic market is in maturity, so maybe you can't expect much of a growth. However, the commercial market is growing. Now we are yet to find out the mix between these two for Trigg Adventure. Where are we more prominent in the specific industry? Now the next factor for profitability to be declining would be the cost. Now if our sales units have reduced, then our fixed cost per unit tends to increase, right? And also other factors that would cause the cost per unit to increase would be losing bulk discounts due to lower purchasing, and the reduction in the learning curve due to the production going down, right? So all of that can result in the cost per unit increasing. So I would recommend you to, once you fully understand, or once you fully read through the pre-scene, think of as many measures as possible that they can do to reduce their cost, right? Because almost every session there has been at least one variant where you have to give ideas on how to reduce the cost base of the company, okay, and you'll get good amount of credits for doing so. Now, since Tony has taken over, he seemed to have different ideas to his father. So now this would be an advantage, or it can even be a disadvantage, because his father was well experienced in the industry for more than 20 years. So his strategy was probably time tested. But then again, it may have been possible for his father to be restricted to certain things because of repetition, right? But Tony Trigg might be looking at this from a fresh perspective and has different plans. Now, one of it is to invest in the design of new climbing frame ranges. We need to understand whether this is something the market really wants, because when it comes to the different orientations, we have learned about production orientation, sales orientation, product orientation, and marketing orientation. Now, if Tony is simply personally interested in these new climbing frame ranges and he simply wants to build a good product, that would be in line with product orientation if he does not take the market factors into consideration. Right now, we have different innovations. There are new ideas being generated every day. Okay, but more importantly, you need to understand whether the market really needs this new idea, right? Otherwise, it would simply be a waste of money and effort. So they need to do some research once they come up with this product concept as to whether the market accepts it. In addition, the directors have been considering expanding the range of products offered to the domestic market. Once again, if our sales in the domestic market is reducing, we need to clearly understand whether the primary reason is lack of range of products. Right now, it may be possible that customers are happy with our range of products, but not so much with the quality, the durability of the products, or maybe they are not very attractive. So if reasons are such, then expanding the range of products will not solve the problem. So my point here is that we need to clearly understand what the market wants, right? We need to clearly understand what are our weaknesses and what are our strengths. It's no point capitalizing on a strength if there is no opportunity for it, right? So let's say we are strong in coming up with new designs, but if there is no opportunity in the market, if there is no demand, then it's pointless. Okay, a design manager role has recently been established, and Grace Lucas, an external recruit, has just been appointed to this role. She is responsible for heading the existing design team and for new product development. Okay, so these changes will create a lot of work for you in with regards to F1. Right, whenever we develop something new, IAS 38 will be applicable. Right, so you need to understand, or you need to remember the accounting treatment. So any research that we do on a new product will be expensed, but once we start developing the new product, if it satisfies the conditions under IAS 38, then you can start capitalizing. Then also, when we come up with new designs, we would need to increase our production capacity, right? So we would have to invest in more assets. So the accounting treatment for these assets would be relevant. And also you might have to look at different options, different mutually exclusive options, right? And there might be different uncontrollable scenarios. So our risk attitude would play a role. So this is where you are needed in explaining what decision is suitable for which risk attitude, right? And talking about new product development, for each new product you need to come up with the marketing mix. Okay, so product would include the features of the product, the quality of the product, and so on. What price points are we going to charge? Is it in line with the existing market price? Where are we going to sell this? Right now, so currently we have our own website and third-party outlets. And also, how exactly are we going to promote this? Right, so new product development is important for E1 marketing. And along with that, we might need more people for our operations. If operations are going to expand, so we will have to recruit new people. So there are formalities involved in the recruitment process, which needs to be advised. Then the budgeting process might change, right? So now I can just go on and on and on about this, because there are so many areas that you can connect these to. So I mentioned some of these areas, and I want you to think to yourself, right? Whenever you find a piece of information in the pre-scene, think to yourself, what are the areas we can connect this to? How can the examiner build a question around this, right? Now, predicting the questions or predicting the areas is good, but what you should avoid doing is only limiting your studies to such areas. There may be certain areas where you are unable to think how it will be tested, but please make sure you study that area as well, right? So for example, let's say you are unable to think how IFRS 5 would be relevant, but nevertheless learn about it. What are the conditions that has to be fulfilled for us to account for a available for sale asset, right? So like that, you need to remember the technical areas, because as I mentioned before, it's 64% technical, and your examiner has the knack of surprising you with scenarios at the exam. Right now, before the exam, you need to practice mock exams, and we at LCI Academy, we provide you 5 mock exams, right? And if you when you look at the history, when you look at the past few sessions, most of the questions that we offered in our mock exams has been tested at the actual exam. But to be very honest with you, there are some areas which are very difficult to predict, right? And your examiner just throws it out in an unexpected manner. So you need to be ready to face all the bullets that your examiner shoots at you, right? You need to be able to dodge these bullets, and the best way to do this is by familiarizing yourself across the entire syllabus of the 3 subjects. Okay, moving on to the next page. So we have information about your role. You are the finance officer working within the finance department of Trigg Venture. you are principally responsible for preparing accounting information, although you are often asked to perform tasks in other areas of the business. Right? So, being the finance officer, your main role is with regards to number-based areas, which should get you thinking about P1 and F1. But remember, you don't have to perform any calculations at this exam. Calculations are already provided for you, and you are required in interpreting these, right, and also looking at the different perspectives, analyzing these numbers, and so on. Now, although you are within the finance department, remember that E1 is also relevant, right? So that's why this is an integrated case study, and even E1 is included in your scope. So when you look at E1, E1 covers so many functions within the business: marketing, HR, operations, IT, and so on. Okay, so you need to be thorough with E1, because although you are working in the finance department, in today's world you can't exactly be specialized to finance, because you need to liaise and coordinate with people from other departments. So you need to have a general knowledge about these other areas of the business, and that would have been covered within your 3 subjects. Okay, right. So with that comes to an end of the introductory video of the February 2019 operational case study session of pre-CIMA. So giving a little bit of information about how we can help you get through this exam. LCI Academy, we provide a lot of free study resources for students, including blog posts on the different areas that can be tested. We will also be releasing a free mini mock very soon. Right, so after some time you may be able to find it in the description of this video. And also we offer a complete study program or a study package at the most economical rates that are available in the market. So if you look at the 3 packages that we offer, we have the bronze, the silver, and the gold. So the bronze package, we offer you the entire pre-CIMA video analysis. We offer you a strategic analysis that covers the Pestle SWOT analysis, Porter's value chain, the 4 P's of marketing, and the Mendelov matrix, all applied to Trigg Adventure. As I mentioned earlier, an industrial analysis is also offered, which looks at the outdoor play equipment industry, important facts about the real world. We also offer you a familiarization workbook, which consists of more than 20 short tasks on P1, E1, and F1 with model answers that are directly connected to your pre-CIMA. So these 20 questions, they cover a very wide area of a very wide range of areas rather, and you have the model answers, which means it's more of a revision for you, along with 3 practice tasks which are exam style. We also offer you in the bronze package 5 mock exams that are prepared for Trigg Adventure. So these exams can be tried out in our online platform, which is quite similar to the CIMA exam platform, and suggested solutions are also provided. Right now, our suggested solutions are very highly targeted to enhance the knowledge of the student, and also to give an idea about the content that should be given in a typical answer, right? Rather than giving huge answers with a lot of theory, we try to prepare our model answers so that students understand what is expected from a good student, right? So in the silver package, apart from the previous items I mentioned, we also offer evaluation, a complete evaluation for each mock exam that you do. So if you look at our website, the silver package, you have a sample evaluation that you can see in the image. Okay, so that is how your evaluation is provided. It's very comprehensive. You are given the mark breakdown for each task and each skill, and our expert tutors will be marking this. They will be providing you the areas that you need to improve on, and so on. And finally, the goal package will include all the study material. It will include evaluation, and apart from that, you will have 5 hours of Skype sessions with a dedicated tutor. So you can choose the time slots. You can choose how to use these 5 hours, right, along with the convenience of the tutor, the availability of the tutor. And finally, we offer a pass guarantee for the gold package, which means in case you are unable to clear the exam this attempt, we will be providing you all the study material completely free of charge until you complete your operational case study. Right? Now, apart from these packages, we also have quite a few free study resources that you can check out. So you can come to LCI Academy and subscribe for such study resources. And please feel free to contact us anytime by email at info@lciacademy.com. Right? So one of our tutors will definitely get back to you, which can even include myself. So if you all have any doubts, you can email to us. And we also have a WhatsApp group where we have students from all over the world, where we share a lot of thoughts and opinions. Right? I am also in the group. I generally clear a lot of doubts that you all throw in. So it will definitely be useful to you. So I would invite you to join this group as well. The link is below. Right? You can click on the link and join this group. So with that being said, that's it for the introductory video, and I would like to wish you all the very best for your operational case study. Thank you.